Welcome everybody. This is a special SRL chat that we're inviting also people from outside to come and join to hear a little bit about interviews that I did 2 months ago with some teachers explaining to me the challenges that they had during COVID. Obviously, we know that as we transition to online, remote, and with the shock of a day suddenly noticed, like suddenly you need to teach media production at home and kind of like, okay, what am I doing now? And since it doesn't seem that it's going away too soon now, the idea was to interview and understand the best practices of the spring so that as we enter deeply into the fall semester, we have some sharing of best practices of how to teach media production online. So the way we're gonna work is I'm gonna introduce, I'll try to do it as briefly as I can. And then I want us to engage into discussions. So we're gonna have, I hope that we can do breakup rooms and then we can go and talk a little bit for like 30 minutes and sharing our thoughts about what I shared, and I'll explain to you the concept so you'll have like kind of like bullet points to talk in your discussion, and then we'll come back and kind of debrief of kind of what did we learn from it. So I'm glad that there is like all those questions, and I'll go over the chat like as you're in the breakup room so I can address the questions. So keep writing if you have questions even as I speak, so that I can make sure that I address that. So I'm going to share my screen and share with you a little bit kind of the finding. Can you see my screen? Okay, I lost everybody, but
We can see you.
Okay, yay, I can't see you. I don't know what happened, but okay. So I'll just try to see if I can bring the window back. Yay, here you are. Okay. So I'm Yonty Friesem. I've been a media educator for 20 years, started in Israel, and then I came almost 10 years ago to the US to work at the Media Education Lab, then Temple University, moved to University of Rhode Island, now I'm at Columbia College Chicago. And at the Media Education Lab, we love to do outreach, but also research, and that our outreach is informed by research. And part of our long collaboration with Student Reporting Lab was at this weird time, kind of seeing really how Student Reporting Lab is really the leading force in showing how, especially high school, but also in general, I'm hearing college level, like instructors are using the materials that are free online. So the impact that Student Reporting Lab, understanding from the beginning, even before the quarantine, the materials and support that they gave was really something that we wanted to look at to better understand what was the impact and how it was supported. So this research is 10 teachers that I interview in the month of July, plus different administrators and the staff of Student Reporting Lab during the month of August. And as I was looking and hearing, and there was some repetitiveness to like the challenges, but also the best practices, I decided to use this frame that I'm familiar with from Universal Design for Learning, because as I was hearing all the story, it was clear to me that there were 3 different networks in the brain that the teachers were addressing in different ways that were very helpful. And when it was not working, they were maybe ignoring one of those networks. So in Universal Design for Learning, it's an approach that looks at the 3 different networks, the strategic, effective, and recognition, in order to address different types of learners, in order to address all students in the classroom, whatever their skill, ability, and the background that they're bringing. And by doing that, you usually use multiple ways of offering way of expression, way of understanding and using repetition. But a lot of the important thing is also multiple ways to engage with the materials. So as I was listening to what the teachers were talking about, it made me think, okay, maybe that can be applicable. And so what I'm going to share with you is I broke down all the evidence that they were sharing with me into 3 categories. And those are going to be the categories that you're going to talk in your breakup rooms. So as we go specifically about media production, we're going to talk about connect to learn. So those of you who are familiar with social and emotional learning know that students, and looking at Maslow hierarchy of needs, students will not engage in a difficult, challenging, cognitive, unless emotionally it's stable and they feel safe. And obviously we cannot feel safe during a pandemic, economical crisis, infodemic, like the stuff that we've been feeling bombarded with are really challenging us as instructor, but also our students. So unless we start with connecting, nothing will happen. So this is the baseline. And so what were the ways that the teachers were talking about as connecting with the students? So personal check-in, and those came in different forms. There were one-on-one video or phone calls and text messages, although some teachers highlighted that they were not allowed to do that. So there is an option of asynchronous, that is FERPA with Flipgrid. So there are different ways of addressing how to do check-ins in an individual level. So you show care, you really listen, and you can address the issues the students are going through by actually using either office hours, using Zoom, using Teams, using Skype. There's different platform, Google Meets, or using asynchronously with Flipgrid, for example. The third one is an emotional check-in, which is basically using the video or other elements to do a group check-in so that the students see that they're not by themselves comparing to the others. So everybody's in the same boat, you included as the instructor, right? So you're sharing your struggle, they're sharing their struggle. We're all doing like checking and sharing what's going on before we even start getting into the material itself, just to clear the way for any issues that arouse that prevent from learning. So that's the first one. But then with the connect, we can also look at how the students can do reflective work that will help them also to digest what's going on, but also share what's going on. So obviously we're on heavy video production, so video and audio documentaries. But one student, for example, and her parents felt that there was issues of privacy. So she transferred to blogging, and she decided to do blogging, and that was very effective for her. So not necessarily needs to be video and audio. It can be also written, can be just share, to the drawer kind of like, but it can be helpful to understand what's going on. And then obviously using social media as images or meme to kind of use as a fun way, playful way of like using hashtags and using different memes to express what's going on. The third one is clear expectation and standards. So as the teacher, you need to use very clear standard, and standard-based grading is one of the best way to do that. And a group of teachers here use the SRL chat to talk about that and to make sure that other teachers are familiar with this way so that they can use that as well. And the idea is that you're not grading according to a number, you're grading according to a letter and according to a standard. So the way that it works is that, did the students meet the standard of clear sound, of steady camera, of framing? Like, you decide, but the grade is upon the standard, not about the performance, because the performance is obviously very tricky and there is different challenges. And we want them to learn because we are about them learning to be journalists, here specifically with Student Reporting Lab, about how to do a professional report that can go and be broadcast nationally. So do they meet the standards to get there? And then the idea is that If they don't, it's not the end of the world because it can be learned. So it's not you pass or fail the test. Okay, you didn't get it this time, do it again, resubmit. Okay, so it's not about, oh, I got 88 and what 88 means. Like, what do I know what 88 means? Did I learn to do the standards or not? And then help me to go further with that. So that's this one. But then also the instruction should be very clear. So one paragraph, numbered stage. So the students can go at any time, even 2 a.m. in the morning, and really like go and understand the stages of what they need to do. So it's a short, clear message, concise, but also that the stages are easy. And so different people with different learnings, those who needs the steps can read the steps, those who need the blurb, read the blurb, and those who are like, you know, need everything would read everything. And then the last one to connect is using short online quizzes and surveys to just check in what's going on. So there is a different platform that are fun, like Kahoot, that the students really love. There is EduPuzzles, and there is different platform, Google Forms, obviously, to engage the students that they feel that they've been heard and there is a place for them to provide feedback. So all those 9 options are 9 options that are about connecting. You want to learn, first you connect. So this is the first one out of the 3. So that the students understand, why am I doing it during a pandemic when I'm not getting graded for it? Sorry. Why am I going to engage with it? Because a lot of students, and we know that the challenges were that they didn't engage with it. But the students who did engage knew and were motivated because the why was very clear for them, why they want to do it. So this is the first steps. And then we're moving to guide. As the instructor, we are in charge of guiding, inspiring them to do an inquiry. And so in order to do that, first of all, and that's common practice, nothing will be new here for you, it's evaluate professional media. Like, can you critique mainstream, but also alternative media? Can you conduct a media literacy analysis with the 5 critical questions? Can you synthesize basic storytelling structure and put it like in a way that you can analyze and understand and then create your own storytelling? So those, again, I'm not gonna go over that. That's very clear. And those are things that you do anyway. This is the core of the practice before you go to actually do a production to learn it. But then also, how do they examine their current interests? So if we want to inspire them and to guide them, they also need to look at like what interests them. So they can brainstorm using mind map. And mind map, obviously there is like Jamboard, there is Mural, you can use like different apps, Poplet, but it doesn't need to be so sophisticated, and it doesn't need to be those like crazy mind map that needs like a lot of, it can be sticky notes, or it can be just, you know, storyboarding. And mind map can be in different ways. It can be visual, it can be written, but the idea is, can you verbalize what's going on in your mind so that you really look at what interests you and the interconnection between all of them. And then the second one there is reflecting on the intended impact. So you want to impact your audience. What do you actually want to do? So what you want to, as a guide, you guide the students toward the impact they want to do. So they're motivated to do it. They want to work on it, and they're looking, how is it really going to happen or not? And then they can check it. But that helps them clarify in their mind what they want to do. And then the last one is obviously looking at peer work. And on the Student Reporting Lab website, you have so many examples that you can share and analyze those the same way that you analyze professional media. But because those are the same students, it takes out the, well, but they're professional, they have like professional. No, they're students like you. They're on the same or very similar setting, and looks what they did. Would you do it differently? How would you do it differently? So that also helps them to examine their own interest. And then the last one that is amazing with the remote instruction is the outreach that became global. And so you can survey your family and friends. You could do it before, but now it's like okay to do that more because everybody on their computer, everybody is on Zoom. You can interview beyond your own network. Like the fact that you can like ask somebody abroad to come and be interviewed is amazing, but it's okay now suddenly because we're all, that's how we connect now. And it doesn't matter because I would connect with you the same now here from the US as I would connect with my family in Israel. And it doesn't seem different suddenly because we're all connecting with those little dots of the Brandy Bunch kind of that we see each other. And then the last one connected to that is you as the instructor can bring people and have masterclass. You can have guest speakers again from around the world, which is amazing. That basically it's now become like, okay, to ask somebody, I mean, it was before, but now it's totally legit to say, hey, would you mind to come and inspire my students and talk about this subject because they're really interested in that. And a lot of people are really interested to feel that they're connecting with people and helping. So that's a great way to really inspire and show guidance and also have professional come into your classroom where you couldn't have them physically come to your classroom. And then the last one, so we talked about why are we doing it? What are we doing? But now we're talking about the how. So how do we do that actually? So how do we create in order to learn? To be, again, reporters, journalists, to be connected to our community. And here what we can see is that obviously the phones became cameras and they have the 4K options, the ability to share online. Obviously there is a lot of issues with that, teaching them that they need to be horizontal and not vertical, but that's a whole like issue, although the aesthetics are changing. But there is a lot of options with the phones, although some phones might be older than others. Online collaboration and editing software. So obviously the big leader here is WeVideo that has an option to collaborate between different students because everything is cloud-based. But even other software are starting to work on that and having different ways that you can collaborate online on the editing process. Cloud sharing, recording, automated transcription, suddenly those are things that make the life of a reporter much easier when everything else is so hard. So really all the digital and online tools are promoting ways of collaboration and more accessibility than we had before. In addition to that, obviously the teamwork needs to be online. So when the teamwork is online, they can work anytime and real time. So synchronous, asynchronous. But the workflow now can work with different project management like Trello, like Asana, like Basecamp, even Google can do that, and Office have Planner. So there's the project management that they're learning to really work on a project, how to do that. You do this, you do this. You get a reminder for your email, and then there's more responsibility and checkbox. Did you actually do that? So there's more accountability using the workflow online with digital tools. And then the last one is video annotation. That is a very cool way of working together. If you're not familiar with it, check out Video Ent from the University of Minnesota. This is a free tool. You just need to create an account. And it allows you to upload videos from YouTube, mainly, I think, maybe Vimeo, I'm not sure. And then each one of you can stop at any second and write a comment. And then when you play the video, the comment pop up during the time specifically. So you can stop at a cut and say, this cut is wrong, or they has some issues, and then have a whole discussion. And the student said, no, it's not wrong. That's actually what I wanted to do. And then you said, oh, really? So what did you want to? So you can have a whole thread on one comment, but you can have different students giving comments on different times. And that really provides feedback on the framing, on the editing, on the lighting, on like every aspect of the video, and provide a robust feedback that is very cool. If you're using Canvas, Canvas has its own video annotation and it's called Studio. It was called Arc. So if you're using Canvas, go and find Studio, ask your administrator to enable Studio so you can actually work on that. And it's an amazing tool that students are really, really responsive for that and loving that. And then the last one is the instructor modeling flexibility during the routine, which is kind of an absurd. So how can you balance predictability, but also to make it unexpected? And it's interesting because now, after 2 months that we started already like teaching, the students already know our routine. So they know when to turn off their camera. They know when to disengage. And that was interesting because I was looking during the spring, there was more requests for routine. Now, after 2 months, the students are fed up with the routine and they know exactly when to disengage. So that's why I added the unexpected, because you need to have a routine, but then surprise here and there. So they're like, oh, what happened? So they're turned on the cameras, or you're doing something that is unexpected and suddenly makes them be more engaged with them. And then share personal struggles. Teachers were telling a lot of stories how they had a crappy day and they were sharing what happened, and the students were very engaged and working with them and understanding, and the modeling was helping them to really go through like what they're on. If the teacher is struggling, oh, so I can share also. It's not something that is just happening to me. So this is a great modeling, and you don't need to struggle every day and share every day, but here and there, really being authentic is super crucial for the students to understand that we are going through very crazy times, and even the professionals are struggling, and they're sharing it also when they're broadcasting. Then the last one is, how do you adjust to the production plan? So things will go, usually, like it never goes the way that we plan. We know that. But now it even goes even worse, like, and even more chaotic. So how do we show that we adapt to it? And there is ways to troubleshoot together, to like work on it and figure it out as we go. So all this modeling is super important, because that's really resiliency, obviously for you, but it models for the students themselves. So that's the overall. I talked way, way, way too much. And then what I want to share now before we go into the breakup rooms is, on the Media Education Lab, there is this infographic that represents what I just talked about. It can be seen here in a tiny URL. I'll put it in the chat. Let me see if I have it. No, it's the wrong. Thank you. And then if you want to, there you have also the full report, which is 5 pages. And you can download the full report with a little bit more explanation of the basis, with the infographics, and also the recommendation for Student Reporting Lab, and kind of like how this happened. So you're welcome to go there. It's the same link. So the publication takes you to all the publication of the Media Education Lab, but the tiny link will take you to the actual report with the infographic that you can download it and copy it. So what we're going to do now is, Julie, if that's okay, that we'll break up into, I think, 4 groups, 4 breakup rooms. And what I want you to do is think about connect to learn, guide to learn, and create to learn, and share either your struggles, challenges, or successes that you want to share in doing and addressing the why should we do media production online, what are we doing as media production online, and how do we do media production online. Okay? So we'll see you in 20 minutes. We'll see you back here, and we'll do just a wrap up of the whole discussion. So
ready?
See you in 20 minutes.
Okay.
I wanted to invite Amy, Cynthia, Chris, that you participated in the interviews, and kind of wondering, like, when you look at those like 3 themes, share my screen again, those 3 themes about connecting and guiding and creating, and like those different ways, and Julie as well. So any one of the 4 of you, if you want to like provide feedback before we end this webinar, about how do you feel like you sharing the experience of your teaching, how did that kind of transform into this kind of infographic and then the report? But mainly the infographic, those 3 sessions, is that applicable? What's missing? Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, I can pipe up, I guess, and then somebody else can follow me. Because I teach not just broadcast, but also English, I think that the first part, the connect to learn, is so very important, and I'm seeing it become more and more important. One thing that you said was to spice it up, to give them a little bit of the unexpected, and we're noticing that the last couple of weeks how important it is, because they just start to go into autopilot after a while. So the connect to learn part is really important, and that's where I put a link in the chat that I thought might be helpful to people, because there is definitely some connection. There are some connection resources in that as well. So that's all I had to say.
Thanks.
I'll chime in, Cynthia, Cleveland Heights High School in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. One of the things that I'm trying to do in class is when I use examples to give students an opportunity to, when they're working on a project. So I try to use examples to connect them with the things that they are interested in. If I'm giving them a project on, I want you to write a story on, right, like they were practicing, one of my classes, practicing writing a VOSOT. So I know that I have a lot of students in the class who like Kobe Bryant, okay? Well, Vanessa Bryant just got a tattoo, and I think she posted it on Instagram, and it's a tattoo that signifies her love for Kobe, her daughter, Gigi, and then the rest of the kids too. So it's like a family tattoo. So I try to use examples, give them things that they can relate to, they're accustomed to, they can connect with it. So maybe that helps them to get more interested in the topic.
Great. Thanks.
Go ahead, Amy.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris. It's okay.
Okay. So one of the things, I think personal check-ins is probably a big one with me. Just like you, I'm imagining, I'm in a hybrid, so half online 2 days a week, then they're in person, and vice versa, the other 2 days a week. And the personal check-ins is really big, because more and more my students are expressing how much stress and anxiety they're having. And so those things seem to be more important than they ever have been during this time, where there's so much screen time, that those conversations that take place on our online day of office hours, and sometimes just on the fly, those seem to be more significant than ever, those personal check-ins.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm at Northview in Covina, California, and I'm just going to piggyback off of what everyone just said. It's pretty much similar, right? The personal check-ins were huge over the summer, and they felt bombarded with media, and they weren't in school, and so they just needed to check in. Is this misinformation? Is this false information? What am I looking at? And I was just so happy that they were checking in, and then also mental health wise, a lot of times we're the teachers that they reach out to first, because we have a connection with them. And some of them are with us longer than just 1 year in a class. And then the modeling flexibility, I think, is really key. We model for them what we're experiencing, but also like I'm adjusting pacing, I'm adjusting assignments. I basically told my film class, like, this is your class. If it's too fast or too slow right now, tell me, because we're completely distance learning. So just trying to be as flexible with them as possible, because I don't want them to miss out because I'm trying to keep up with what I used to do. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I think, I don't remember if, it was you that were talking, but I think I heard it from several people about the 2 a.m. text messages from students. So also about the self-care of us as educators, like to put the boundaries, like, yes, we need to be flexible, we need to be understanding and connect, but also we are going through this pandemic as well. So like where to put the boundaries. So yeah. Thanks. I wanted to know, I don't know, Leah, Elise, if any of you want to chime in or kind of like have like, the last word kind of to sum up, like from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, thank you everyone so much for just being really willing and, you know, kind of participants in this, really thoughtful, really invested, really personal, putting, you know, your stories front and center. I think that that helps so much. I mean, just in our small breakout, just to hear, you know, Chris, you know, kind of with more trying to teach like, you know, 4 different cohorts and kind of like all the stress that it's causing. And then Mary's perspective, you know, coming in and talking about a little bit about ways that she's, you know, kind of figured out how to say like, this is what's important and I'm going to focus on this and then I'm going to throw the rest of it away, or I'm going to put it away until, you know, it's like something that is more relevant to what we're actually working on. And then, you know, I just really heard Laura talking about feeling, you know, just really, I don't know, Laura, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but, you know, frustrated and unsatisfied with the connection to the students now, even though their work is coming through, but just not being able to like oversee and have that personal connection and say like, let's work on this together. So, you know, it just seems like you're all going through so much emotionally and, you know, trying to figure out like just what's best for your students. And, you know, I just want to say like, we appreciate that so much, and also appreciate that you're working with us to then, you know, in this community, share those best practices and share that support and share that, you know, commonality of what you're experiencing, those feelings and ways of kind of like figuring out, you know, resources or strategies to make it better on yourselves, and then also like more meaningful for your students in terms of the work that they're doing. But what we've seen coming through is amazing. Like we just love these personal stories and some really special moments in the content that's coming through. And I hope you guys feel like that's, you know, you're doing and you guys are making that happen. And so thank you. It's really worthwhile, I think, for the NewsHour, for us, and hopefully for your communities.
Thanks.
Elise, do you want to?
Yeah, and I don't have much to add, just that there is so much value in just hearing from everybody every now and again. Like I always think about how I wish I could be a part of the SRL chats like every single week, Julie, that you're putting on, which is so amazing. But there's just so much in just sharing what you're going through. And even in just this 1 hour discussion, I've learned so much that is helping us and helping inform the way that we're developing curriculum going forward and making it easier for you guys hopefully going forward as well. So just wanted to let you know that I'm like learning so much every single time, and that there's so much value, even though it does take up a little bit more time, and just connecting and hearing from each other and just being able to share what you're going through as part of this process. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So Julie, do you want to like tell like what's the plan with the chat and kind of like to wrap it up?
Okay, to wrap it up, on my end, the technical part. So this will export tonight while I'm away, and then I will be uploading it and sending out to everyone on the SRL list. And I believe, Yonty, that you have probably a few extra people as well here. If you could provide those emails, I will send out a link to it there as well. Okay, the chat will be there as well.
Thanks. And we're gonna post the video, if it's okay with everybody, on the Media Education Lab with the report, so people can watch the recording and the report. So, you know, it's helpful for everybody. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I always welcome any feedback. So please just, you know, connect with me if you have any questions or anything. And I hope to see you soon. Northeast Media Literacy Conference, SRL chat. And again, thank you so much.